Hi everyone and welcome to our lab 6, that is router on a stick configuration. So in our previous lab we performed inter-VLAN routing using a layer 3 switch. In this particular lab we are doing the same thing, that is inter-VLAN routing, but in this case we are using a router. So when a router is used in this particular fashion, it is known as a router on a stick configuration because we are using this one connection of a router to perform inter-VLAN routing, and this seems like a stick. That's why it is called as router on a stick configuration. So task 1 is the lab setup introduction. So this is our lab setup. We have two PCs. The PC1 is in VLAN 10, having IP address of 192.168.10.1 and gateway of 254. PC2 is in VLAN 20 and its IP address is 192.168.20.1 and having a gateway of 20.254. So this gateway of both these VLANs will be defined on this router to perform this inter-VLAN routing, and we have a layer 2 switch in between them to provide connectivity. And as I already told that this inter-VLAN routing is done using a router, and this inter-VLAN routing configuration setup is known as router on a stick. So let's go to the task 2 and start the practical configuration. So in the first step, we will configure the switch. So let's open the switch CLI. Let me go to the global configuration mode. First of all, we will change the switch name according to our topology diagram. So the first step is configuring the VLAN. So we will configure two VLAN. The first one is VLAN 10 and we will name it as HR. And the second VLAN is VLAN 20 and we will name it as sales. And then the second subtask of the second task is assigning ports to the VLANs. So the fast Ethernet 01 port will be assigned to VLAN 10. So I will enter into fast Ethernet 01 and I will configure it to access mode, and I will assign it VLAN 10. In similar fashion, the second PC is connected to the fast Ethernet 02. So I will go into the interface fast Ethernet 02 and I will configure it into access mode and I will assign it VLAN 20. And the third subtask is configuring the trunk port. This one port, the gigabit 01 that is connected with the router. We are configuring it as a trunk because this particular port will be carrying multiple VLANs. In this case, two VLANs, VLAN 10 and 20. So I will go to the interface gigabit 01 and I will configure it as switch port mode trunk. We can also give the port as a description so that we understand when we see the configuration that what this port is connected to. So this port is connected to router. So configuring the port simply in trunk mode is enough. as I told in one of the earlier lab, that it is good to assign only the VLANs to this port to allow only the VLANs that are being carried on this port. In our case, VLAN 10 and 20, but in this particular case, we will just leave it as that. So the port has been configured as strong, and we are done with the task 2 as well as configuring the switch. I will copy the running configuration as a startup configuration, and that's it. We are done with the switch configuration. And now the task 3 is the configuration of the router. And let me open the router CLI, go to the configuration mode, and the first step is changing the name of the router as per the diagram, which is R1. And now we will configure the sub interfaces for both the VLANs. So how will we will do this task? In order to configure sub interfaces, we will go into the interface gigabit 0/1 dot. First of all, I will configure the sub interface for VLAN n. So I will use the command gigabit ethernet 01.10. So now, as you can see, I am in the sub interface, this 10, and I will use the encapsulation dot 1q, and I will give the ID of the VLAN. Next, I will assign the IP address, that is 192.168.10. Remember, this gateway, I will assign this gateway IP address over here, or this will act as a gateway for all my clients inside VLAN 10. Assign the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. So I will exit it. I am done with this sub interface. Now I will go again into the physical interface, and the sub interface this time 20. And I will again use the encapsulation.1q, and this time I will assign the VLAN ID of 20, and I will assign the IP address of 192.168.20.254, and the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. So I am done with this configuring these sub interfaces. One important thing that remains, as we can see that this interface is down, it is because by default the router interfaces are in shutdown mode. So I will again go into the physical interface, and this is also our task, subtask 2 or task 3. To enable the physical interface, I will use the no shutdown command, and this will bring the interface up as well as the sub interfaces or logical interfaces. So now I'm done with this configuration. I will save it. So the configuration is now saved, and in a moment the router interface is up. The switch interface will also come up in a moment, and this is up. And now we can perform the last task, which is testing the connectivity, or testing the, we can say, the inter-VLAN routing between the client. So do that, I will go to PC1 and ping the PC2 IP address. So the PC2 IP address is 192.168. So remember, the good approach is to go step by step. First of all, let me ping my own gateway, PC1 own gateway, and it is pinging. Let me now ping the gateway of the VLAN 20, and it is also pinging. And now let me ping the PC2 IP, which is 20.1. Let's wait, and it is also pinging. The first packet is timed out because it takes a time to do the ARP request, and when the reply comes from the PC and the MAC address is learned, then we receive reply as such. So the first time out is because it is learning the MAC address of PC2 for the first time. So now I will ping PC1 from PC2, and PC1 IP address is 192.168.10.1, and sure enough it is also pinging. So our lab configuration is successful, and we have performed the inter-VLAN routing using a router, also known as router on a stick. So that's it for this lab. Subscribe and stay tuned for the upcoming labs. See you next video.